Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important concepts for leveling up your Python skills, modules. Seriously, if you want to go from just writing scripts to actually building real, organized applications, this is the key.
You know the feeling, right? You write this amazing function, it works perfectly, and then, a week later, you need that exact same function in a totally new project. The first thing you think of is, I'll just copy and paste it. But we've all learned the hard way that that becomes a total nightmare to manage. So, what's the better way?
Well, there is a much, much better way. It's called a module. And honestly, it's super simple. A module is just a Python file. That's it. Any file ending in .py can be a module. Think of it like a toolbox. You create these awesome custom tools, your functions, and you put them in the toolbox so you can just grab them whenever you need them in another project.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get into why modules are so critical. Then we'll cover the different ways you can import them. After that, we're going to peek behind the curtain and see how Python actually finds these files. We'll learn how to import from anywhere on your computer, and finally, we'll unlock the absolute treasure chest that is Python's standard library.
Okay, let's dive right in with a super practical example. Let's say you've written a brilliant function in one script and you just know you're going to need it again. We're going to see exactly how to turn that little piece of code into a powerful, reusable tool.
So the setup here is really simple. We have two files sitting in the same folder. One is called my_module.py, and inside we've defined a handy function called findIndex. In our second file, let's call it intro.py, we need to use that function. And you know what? All it takes is one single line, import my_module. That's it. You've just used a module.
All right. So now that you know the basic idea of importing, let's look at the different ways you can do it. See, importing isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. Python gives you a few different options, and each one has its own specific uses.
The two main ways you'll see are these. First, you can just import my_module. When you do this, to use your function, you have to type the module's name first, like my_module.findIndex. This is great because it's super clear where that function is coming from. The other way is to say, from my module, import findIndex. This plucks just that one function out of the module. The cool part is you can then just call findIndex directly, which is way cleaner if you're going to be using it a lot.
Now for a few pro tips. You can give a long module name a shorter alias, like import my_module as mm. You can also grab multiple things at once with a comma. But listen, here is a really, really important warning. You might see code that says from my_module import star. That star means import everything. Please, just don't do this. It dumps a bunch of functions and variables into your file, and you have no idea where they came from, which makes debugging a total nightmare.
Okay, so this all seems a little bit like magic, right? You just type import, and Python somehow finds the right file. How does it do that? Well, it's not magic at all. It's a very specific, ordered list of places that it looks. Let's pull back that curtain.
When you write an import statement, Python goes through a checklist. First, it looks in the exact same folder as the script that you're running. That's why our first example worked so easily. If it's not there, it checks a special list of folders called the Python path. We'll get back to that. After that, it looks where all of Python's own built-in modules are installed. And finally, it checks where you've installed other third-party libraries.
So that brings up the next obvious question, right? What happens when your module isn't in the same folder? What if you have, say, a central folder for all your awesome tools and you want to use them from different projects all over your computer? You're going to see this. Oh yes, the big, scary module not found error. This is just Python's way of telling you, hey, I looked through my entire checklist and I could not find a file named my_module. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's frustrating, but it's actually a really helpful error because it tells you exactly what's wrong. Your module isn't on the search path.
And the professional way to solve this is with that Python path we mentioned earlier. It's basically just a special variable on your computer where you can list extra directories. By adding the path to your tools folder to this variable, you're telling Python, hey, from now on, whenever you're searching for modules, add this folder to your checklist. And just like that, your custom module becomes available anywhere.
So everything we've talked about so far has been about modules we write. But here's where things get really exciting. Once you master the import statement, you get the keys to a gigantic, pre-built library of toolboxes that are already included with Python.
This is called the standard library. It's this massive collection of modules that comes with every single Python installation. You don't have to download or install a thing. It was all written and optimized by expert programmers to solve thousands of common problems so you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
And the amount of stuff in here is just unbelievable. You want to pick a random item from a list? Import random. Need to do some trigonometry? Import math. Need to find out today's date? Import datetime. Want to check if it's a leap year? Import calendar. You want to know what directory your script is in? Import OS has you covered. And that's barely scratching the surface.
And the people who make Python, well, they have a pretty good sense of humor. Try this sometime. Open up Python and just type import anti-gravity. It will literally open your web browser to a famous webcomic about Python. It's a fun little Easter egg that's there to encourage you to just explore and see what you can find.
And that brings us to some amazing advice from Corey Schaefer, whose tutorial really inspired this deep dive. He says, don't be afraid to actually go look at the code in the standard library. These modules are just Python files on your computer. You can open them up and read them. It is one of the best ways to learn, just seeing how the pros do it.
And that's really the whole point. You now have the power to organize your own code into clean, reusable toolboxes, and you also have access to thousands of professionally built tools right at your fingertips. So the only question left is, what amazing problem are you going to solve first?